So, it's 60 points.
That's not bad.
Nope, it's not bad. There are 13 true false, 21 multiple choice. There's one thing to put in order. So it gives you steps. So you probably can figure it out if you go back through your PowerPoints. So there's a step thing, however you want to word that. One step order. And then there's 7 different listing questions. Okay? And I'll kind of go over some of those in a second. So
Can you repeat that?
60 points. Can I read what?
The second thing you said?
Yeah, so 13 true false, 21 multiple choice. There's one thing you have to put in steps. And then there's 7 listing. So there's a lot of questions over communication because this is the bulk of the whole entire section that we were going over. So talking about, or even dealing with clients who complain. What are some reasons that they're going to complain? How do we deal with people who are going to complain? So make sure you go back and look at that. Talking with clients in general. What are some barriers? What are some things that we can do to make sure they're understanding us? What were some of those things? If they're going to stand there like this and not listen to us, what can we do?
Give them something to hang on
Give
to.
them something to read or look at while we're going over that. Make sure that they understand. So how are we going to make sure they understand what we're saying? Ask them to repeat back, right? We talked about talking to people over the phone, like phone etiquette. Don't be doing other things while talking to them. What should you be doing? Focusing on what they're having to tell you, paying attention. Receptionists should be able to multitask, but at the same time, too, they need to pay attention to whoever's on the phone. So don't be chewing on pens like me. Don't be writing down other messages. Just focus on that one. Talking to people. How do we want to talk to someone? Do we want to go crazy with our voices or talk really low? Or how do we want to talk to someone?
Even normal tones.
Normal tones, okay? So tone is important. Volume is important, especially when we're dealing with older people. And consistency. Don't talk super, super fast because they're not going to be able to understand it, right? So make sure you slow your roll. Talk to where they can understand it. Nothing bothers me more than anything when I have people call and leave messages and they give me their phone number because it just shows up like wireless call and then there's no phone number at school here, and they'll give me their phone number and it all runs together. I'm like, what the heck did they just say? And I can't call them back because I have no idea what the phone number was. So make sure that y'all remember that. Scheduling. When we talked about making appointments, okay, what were some of the things that we really needed to keep in mind? There were 3 to 4 things that you need to be sure and write down. What were those things when we're making appointments?
Name.
The name, so the animal's name and the person's name, right? What else? Why they're there, and one more thing that has to be on there. A phone number, okay? A correct phone number in case something were to happen and we need to reschedule. So the animal's name and the person's name, the reason they're there, and a phone number, okay? When we're scheduling farm calls, what do we really focus on?
Address.
Location, right? Location's important because we're going to try to schedule those in a timely manner so the doctor can actually see them within that time frame. What phone call ring should we answer the telephone by?
Second. Or third.
By the 3rd, okay? So usually on the 2nd, but by the 3rd. Remember, that's what your board's exam will go with. So if you have that question, you want to answer by the 3rd ring. Did everybody hear that? Okay? Also, when scheduling appointments, what's some other important things we need to keep in mind? What type of people are going to come in when we're triaging? How do we triage? It's going to be important, yes. So how are we going to do that? When y'all have people come in, obviously they may not make appointments, but what are they going to do?
Fill out paperwork, and then we do CPR and go from there.
Okay, so emergencies are seen what? First, right? And then our appointments, and then walk-ins. Y'all remember that? Okay, so that's something else to keep in mind. Grieving clients. Okay, so that was one of the things we talked about. And euthanasias. Make sure you know some of the common questions they may ask. Make sure you know the general procedure. There's several questions on the test that give you scenarios, okay? And it talks about a certain little scenario, and you have to pick the best, way to deal with that. And when you read it, like, a lot of these are pretty common sense, okay? Obviously, if we're dealing with the euthanasia, what does the clinic need to be doing? Do we stop the clinic?
No.
No, the clinic still has to function, but are we having parties in the back and all of that stuff?
We're being respectful.
We're being respectful, okay? We're not being crazy. We're being considerate. Do we leave grieving clients out in the front? No, okay? So those are all things to make sure you remember. There's a couple percentage questions on here. So we talked about a percent of clients who we want to retain. We talked about a percentage of clients that sometimes we lose. We talked about the percentage of people, or actually the percentage of the doctors of how long they listen, the time frame there. So go back and look at all of that stuff too, because maybe just one. There's 1 or 2 percentage questions on here. What's the most common or the most important aspect of communication? What is the most important aspect of communication?
Body language?
Close. There, you got 2 of these.
Oh, ears and nose.
Listening, right? Listening is your most important. Body language is super important too, because there's types of verbal and non-verbal communication. Okay. Who's the most important person in the clinic? Very good. Who has the first and last visits with the client? The receptionist. Do y'all remember about marketing and the 2 types of marketing? External and internal, okay. We also have like direct and indirect that go along with that, bless you. So what's an example of internal marketing? We've already established our clients, right? This is for internal, inside the clinic. What's external? Outside, we're trying to draw in clients. So make sure y'all know the examples of that. And that's really it. Oh, there was one slide in the PowerPoint, and I told you to make sure that you remember this. There might have been 5 things that clients expect. Y'all remember that?
The peas?
Not the P's. But I told you, I said, a lot of people want to be listened to and understood and love and compassion. And I said, yes, that's true, but it's not this. So go back and look. There was an exam, the fees, prognosis, treatment, that kind of thing. So make sure y'all go back and look at that. Okay? So does anyone have any questions on that? Okay, so the test is Monday. What also is due Monday? The logo. Okay?
When is Creative Clinic? Is that Friday?
That's Friday. Hey, we all...
20th.
The 20th.
We all
20th,
service.
not the 13th.
Yeah, not the 13th, the 20th.
So not,
It's the 20th, the Friday before spring
Friday
break.
before spring break. No, not the Friday of,
Not
not the Friday after the test, but next Friday.
Yes. Yeah, y'all can email, several people have, y'all can email the logo. Okay, if you want to. And I won't print it out or anything and give it back to you. I'll just give you a grade for it. So everyone, I've had 4 people, I think, email me already. So, Jade, Katie, Caitlin Ford, someone else did. I don't remember. Someone else did. If you emailed it to me, make sure I got it, okay? Because there was one other person. Maybe Haley, did you ask me a question about it?
well.
Was it you that asked me a question about the logo? Okay, maybe that's what I'm thinking of. Okay? So if you don't have any other questions, y'all are free to go. Okay? And I'll tell you about the test. Yeah, it's coming around, so y'all make sure you sign in, okay?
You have to help with Vanguard Day.
Yes. What about all that stuff?